everybody, Jonathan here, owner and instructor here at Vancouver Fit Body Bootcamp, and I am here with Pavan Mehat. He is a second-year medical student at UBC, and we're going to dive into a little bit about stress today, as well as breathing and how we can use breathing to help reduce stress in our daily life, but also a little bit of the science behind why it works. So Pavan's going to run the show on this one, but we're going to dive into a little bit first just in terms of what is stress in our body and what's going on that's causing so much of it right now.
Perfect. Glad to be on your channel. So why is stress so prevalent, and why is it like almost everyone we talked about is struggling from stress or feel like they wish they could be more relaxed? And we take a simple graph that Douglas Hill draws on his Be Activated workshops. Before we're born, there's no stress at all. There's no gravity, we're in amniotic fluid, we have all our food given to us magically from our mom, and then we get born, and there's a big stressful event. But then our body is able to come down and our nervous system can relax. Then what happens sometimes in life is we have a stressful response, and as we're coming down, another thing happens, and another thing happens, and kind of shit hits the fan. And when you do recover from that, your state of relaxation, if we think of this as stress from 0 to 100, is all relative. So we think this is our baseline, but in actuality, it's down here. So this is kind of what we call like your untapped potential of your nervous system. And if you think of your nervous system, you can have two main automatic responses to any stimuli. One is kind of a fight or flight, or what scientists will call it kind of your sympathetic nervous system, or one is your rest or digest, or what scientists call the parasympathetic nervous system. That's a lot of mumbo jumbo. It can be confusing. What I like to think is survive or thrive. So any great athlete, any great business person, anybody who's excellent, they're able to get into this thrive or rest or digest response because it helps let them focus and be calm instead of there's a lion, I got to run away and protect my life. So, but how do we tap into this potential? And it's something really simple and it's free. It's breathing. And the reason breathing is so powerful because it's the only bodily process that is both automatic and voluntary. So it kind of gives you a gateway to influence your autonomic nervous system. And that's just a fancy word scientists use to describe the part of your nervous system that beats your heart, digests your food, and does a whole host of other automatic bodily processes that you don't have to think about. Otherwise we couldn't function in our day-to-day lives. And the reason breathing is so powerful is because if we're able to get our diaphragm, which is this dome-shaped muscle, and when it contracts, it pulls down and it creates kind of a negative pressure air vacuum that draws air into your lungs. And when you do that, you activate kind of your vagus nerve. You don't need to know about that nerve, but that nerve is kind of responsible for a lot of this rest or digest response. And so when we say belly breathing, it's not just jutting your stomach out, but when you contract your diaphragm, it pulls air in, and there's a lot of junk in your stomach. So when the diaphragm moves down, it increases kind of the pressure here, and then the stuff has to go somewhere. So don't think when I'm belly breathing, it's just, I look like a pregnant lady. It's instead try to think, breathe down to your feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then basically just really understanding that this is kind of a phase that we're going to go through. So we're going to demo a few different things, but we have to go in stages, because if we try to just start belly breathing when we're standing up, it's really hard to get the right position and the right understanding and feeling of how to belly breathe if we haven't done the baby steps. Like if we're going to learn to run, we got to learn to walk first. Yep. And we got to learn to stand up before that. So we're going to demo some exercises laying down first, and then we translate those into sitting to standing up and then movement after that. So, but we got to start with the fundamentals first, and that's what we're going to dive into next.
So we've talked about how breathing can improve kind of your overall stress levels, but we want to show just a quick way how breathing can also improve kind of your athletic performance or helping you be stronger, faster, more flexible. So the first thing we're going to look at is, Jonathan, just relax your legs. Just look at a passive hamstring flexibility, and we're not going to do it to end range of motion. I'm just kind of going for feel and just general flexibility of the hamstring. So I'm just getting Jonathan to totally relax. I'm just going to a point where he starts to feel a slight stretch.
Right there, yeah.
Okay, perfect. And so we just keep a general track for that. I'm not a physio, the magical eye for protractors, so I'll just kind of...
And there.
Perfect. So next we're going to kind of do what is kind of like a Be Activated or a Flex Performance reset for the diaphragm, and it's just along the sternum here. And the simple way to think about why we activate just along the sternum is because a lot of our bad posture and kind of habits, and when we get stressed, we tend to collapse inwards. You never see someone who's really happy looking like this, and you won't see someone who's depressed looking like this. So our tissue and our pecs, mainly all the muscles kind of cause us to go forward, create a lot of tension along all their attachment points there. So we're just rubbing gently along here to kind of release that tension. And it doesn't have to be very vigorous or hurtful, but it can be quite sensitive depending on how much stress you've been holding on to or
Yeah, I mean, it's not pressing very hard, but I can definitely tell it's tender, for sure.
And it's not very comfortable at first, right?
No.
Yeah. And when you're doing this, it's really important. If you go down the sternum, there's a thing called the xiphoid process that kind of sticks out here. Don't press on that because that can get dislodged and you don't want a bone fragment.
Yes. So where would they find that?
So that's basically the sternum starts here and then you go down, and when the two rib cages meet the sternum, there's that little right there, so you don't want to be pressing down here. So once you feel the start of your kind of the edge of your rib bone, don't keep pressing.
Right.
And less is more. Don't push it hard, maybe
Yes.
double the results.
Yeah.
And then you can do this for about 20 to 30 seconds, depends.
And so basically all he's doing, he's putting pressure in, he's just doing little circles. So it's just small little circles, just kind of getting the attachment points of the pec muscles on the sternum itself, and that's all that he's doing right here.
And when you're doing this, like I think Jonathan said it perfectly, but you're not trying to go as hard as you can. It's really trying to meet where the tissue is. So the tissue's meeting me well. I just match that. I don't just go in here and jam as hard as I can.
Yes.
That just hurts them and it's not comfortable, and that's gonna
Please don't.
that's gonna create more of that stress response we're trying to get rid of. And so while we're doing this, if Jonathan's feeling comfortable, we want to really focus on that belly breathing. And so to make it easier, I'm gonna get Jonathan just to bend his legs up. Perfect, and that will just kind of put your pelvis in a better situation. So this is like the starting position when you do any breathing practice, because Jonathan said you can't go from 0 to 100 right away, you have to slowly work. And I usually I'll just get Jonathan to put his hands on his belly, and I'll get him to breathe in and out through the nose. And perfect, he's doing it perfectly already, but with the exhalation, try to have it be totally relaxed in a passive process. Especially when you're breathing here and not as worried about gravity as you are when you're standing or sitting. It takes almost very little muscular effort to keep the exhale.
So with the hand on the stomach, what are they trying to feel?
So you want to feel the stomach kind of rising up, and you don't want it to just be jutting out, but the stomach, because your diaphragm is a three-dimensional muscle, it should expand in all directions. So once you're starting off, first just start with your hand on the belly. Then once you get a bit more advanced, you can kind of have your hands on the side or even your back, and if you're really breathing well, you'll feel it expand all the way around and then start to go down. So you'll kind of even feel it lower, closer to kind of your inguinal ligament and stuff. Cool. So we'll done the quick self-activation. You can do that at home. And now I'm just going to get Jonathan just take 10 as big breath as you can. And then just slow exhale. And what's really cool about this is it's good to have a test like this and you work through the test, but the main goal of this is to help build your own self-awareness around breathing and your state. So your state of relaxation should change quite dramatically just doing this. Do you feel a difference in how?
Absolutely.
So that's kind of the feedback you want to get attuned to, because if you can be more aware of when you're out of a state, you can use breathing to kind of break that pattern when you just freak out and help it to bring yourself and relax more.
So probably bad if I had a nap and fell asleep right here, right?
Yeah. But that's a very common. So this is a perfect thing to do right before bed. I challenge everybody here watching this video, if you do 20 big belly breaths before bed, I challenge you to still be up afterwards. Perfect. That doesn't mean, how many is that then?
7, 8.
Okay, we'll do like 2 more and then. So why are we looking at hamstring flexibility when Jonathan's doing belly breathing? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. But the diaphragm shares muscle and nerve fibers with the psoas, which is this big meaty muscle, but we don't really see it because it's a deep muscle that runs from the spine to the hip to kind of the leg bone of the femur, and that's kind of your main hip flexor, and it's a pair of muscles with the glutes, and we need our glutes to fire to really stretch our hamstrings. So once we get belly breathing, the psoas starts to fire better, and if the psoas, many of our psoas tends to be overly tight because of bad posture, too much sitting, therefore it shuts our glutes or keeps them too long, because if one muscle, like our bicep, is overly tight, our triceps is going to be too long. So getting our glutes firing will improve our hamstring flexibility. So it's really important to, if your hamstrings are tight, try to understand why your hamstring's tight. It's usually your body doesn't create tension for no reason because it takes up a lot of energy. So it's done to kind of stabilize your body. So let's just take a look, and Jonathan can totally relax and keep breathing, and we'll just kind of see how his hamstring feels. So I'm looking for 2 things, not just the increase in the angle, but also how it feels qualitatively. It feels a lot lighter, easier. How does that feel?
Yeah, I'm just getting that light stretch now.
And that's a good extra, like at least 10 degrees.
At least, yeah.
And it qualitatively feels way different. Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I feel so much more relaxed as he's pulling my leg up, as opposed to feeling like halfway up and tension was already starting.
Yeah. So a big part of all this work is not just the results, which are awesome. It's great to improve flexibility, but it's about building that mind-body connection that's going to allow you to get better results with whatever exercise program you're doing.
Totally. Now, just one thing on top of that is a lot of times our flexibility is not necessarily an issue that we're just not very flexible. It's an issue that, like Pavan said, is that our muscles are just on tension and they're not letting go. So what that breathing allows us to do is just be able to relax the muscles, and your flexibility automatically improves once those muscles are relaxed. So that's what that breathing allows us to be able to do, like he's talked about, is engaging the parasympathetic, your rest and digest as nervous system will just relax the muscles, and then automatically you'll have greater flexibility, greater mobility as a result of that.
So you may be pretty amazed by kind of the results Jonathan had, and he felt much more, not only much more relaxed, but also his hamstring flexibility improved dramatically, and it felt totally different. So how can you do this at home? So we're going to lie down in this position right here to set up, because this is kind of our baseline position, pins our pelvis in a good neutral position, makes belly breathing easier. And so when we're doing the self-activation we talked about, you just kind of make a fist, and I put my thumb down like this just to protect your joints. And we're going to go again down the sternum right here. And so we're just going to do it lying down, and we're just going to slowly rub about 10, 20, 30 seconds, whatever kind of suits your fancy.
And basically, with your sternum, you got a center line bone right down the center, and we're just going not down the center per se, but just slightly to the side of the midline, so that we can get those attachment points. And you'll feel it. You'll feel that the muscles are a little tender, likely there, or some kind of wires or cords there. Those are the areas that we're trying to just add a little bit of pressure on and try and relax them as much as we can. But again, we're not like digging in there. We're just adding a little bit of pressure as we do that in tiny little circles as you're going around.
And a nice little trick to kind of expedite the removal of the tension is you can combine that with your breathing. So if you get really advanced, you can start doing the belly breathing when you hit quite a gnarly spot, and that'll just kind of help reduce that tension. And this is something that I do before every workout, before I study, if I'm really stressed out, so it's a great pattern interrupt. If you're driving a lot to go to work or class, this is a great thing I do in the car. It keeps me sane in Vancouver's traffic. So we've done the self-activation, so I like to put one hand on the belly when I'm doing it myself, and one hand on the chest to kind of get feedback to make sure my chest isn't rising, my belly is moving nicely. And again, just in through the nose, out through the nose, and try to have the exhalation be as passive as a process as it can be. Right away, you should notice like I feel much more relaxed. How about you, John?
Yeah, absolutely. Granted, you're already working on me for 5 minutes before.
And just one note I want to make just about chest breathing. So I think chest breathing is something you want to avoid under normal conditions, but if you're running 100-meter sprints, when you need your full oxygen capacity, you're going to breathe through your chest. So just keep that in mind. Under normal, you're walking around, you're doing a light workout, try to keep your breathing solely in your diaphragm, but obviously if you're running, you're going to be using your whole entire lungs and using all your other muscles other than your diaphragm just to breathe.
And yeah, so we recommend doing that morning and night if you can to get a little bit of habit. And again, start with just lying down on your stomach in that sit-up position with those knees bent to just get that body relaxing, get used to, again, that diaphragm firing, because if you just try and stand up and start doing it, you'll get a little bit of firing, but we won't necessarily be doing it fully properly yet. So just go step by step, start it laying down, and then started sitting, started standing, and then you can incorporate that into while you're walking during your light activity and things like that. But this is a great start and really, really highly beneficial for, again, just relieving stress, but also being able to move better and support our core a lot better, which then supports every structure of our body a little bit better as well.
And the biggest thing with any breathing practice is consistency is the mother of all learning, repetition. So if you really want your brain and your nervous system to maintain this relaxed state, not just when you're doing your breathing, but throughout your day or studying at work, you want to do it consistently. And this kind of ties well into sleep. So if you want to improve your sleep, many of you struggle with sleep, this is the best thing to do. Put your phone away, turn it off, don't be staring at your phone, and then just do some breathing, and you'll have a great night of sleep.
Awesome. Have an amazing day, everybody. If you have any questions, definitely leave a comment for us, and then we'll get back to you. And otherwise, how can we find out about you?
So I'd say the best way is kind of social media or kind of through my website. So it's just my first name, Pavan, P-A-V-A-N, and mehat.com, and that's kind of the best venue for all, like my YouTube channel, all other jazz.
Awesome. Have an amazing day, everybody. We'll see you again soon.